beauty supply stores run off the backbone of Black communities, specifically Black women. And it's a great and amazing thing to have Black women's business. That is, until they win a seat at the table. I do just want to read a quick disclaimer. The opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of Dreams World and do not reflect the views of any employers, organizations, or affiliates. This content is intended for entertainment and conversation purposes only and is not meant to offend or harm any individual, group, or organization. Let's get into it. There is a video that is circulating online. The original creator, their username is Shop the Hood. On TikTok, I believe that is the original creator, and there was a bunch of other people who were creating or responding to that. In this particular video, I do think that it was a reaction video of her video. They were talking about how there was a lady who was trying to open a Black-owned beauty supply store, and they were prevented from opening that store because the local Asian beauty supply stores were preventing the distributor from supplying them with the products that they needed. In this particular video and a few other videos, they were discussing how there is some sort of law that, again, I am not saying this. In this video, however, they are saying that there is some sort of a law that allows local stores to basically dictate who a distributor can and cannot sell to. There's also cases where there's Asian beauty supply stores, allegedly. This is all alleged, by the way. In a way, boycotting doing business with distributors or vendors if they choose to sell products to these Black-owned businesses. Hearing that infuriated me. But you see, the thing about me is when something makes me mad, I kind of obsess about it. So I obsessed and I decided that I needed to get as much information that I possibly could in a reasonable amount of time on what exactly is happening. Obviously, the biggest thing that clearly is going on is racism, right? But I wanted to go even more and even further to dissect what exactly and how exactly things are going on. The first thing I had to figure out, how exactly is this a law? How is this legal? And how is this still going on? So, again, before I get too deep into this, I do want to just make it clear. This is how my mind is interpreting the information. This is how my mind is interpreting what is happening. And I am going to try to do my best to dissect it like we're dissecting a frog in 9th grade biology. While I didn't find any laws specifically relating to what was being discussed in these videos, of course, why would these things that are being swept under the rug be so readily available for us to be, knowledgeable of what's going on? I had to go through the gray areas. Distributors. Let's talk about distributors for a brief second. Distributors supply beauty stores, but they are not the vendor. No. The vendor typically manufactures the product, as well as sells them. Keep in mind, they do not always manufacture the product. The difference between the distributors and the vendors, the distributors are not manufacturing the product. So who do they have to go to? The vendor, of course, to get their products, right? The vendors use distributors to expand their reach, get more profits, make more sales. Vendors can sell directly to the beauty supply stores, or a distributor can sell the vendor's products at a marked up price. Remember that for later. Next, exclusive territory. Now, I had no idea what exactly that even meant. Of course, I had to figure that out. According to U.S. legal, an exclusive territory refers to a designated geographic area where a franchisee has the exclusive right to operate a business. Within this territory, the franchisor cannot establish additional franchise units or conduct business themselves. This arrangement ensures that the franchisee has a protected market, reducing competition from the franchisor or other franchisees in the same area. Now, let's talk about what a franchisor and a franchisee is. Keep in mind, this is going to be a very simplified, not in detail definition so that we can keep this ball rolling. Okay? A franchisor, in simple terms, they're an established business And of course, there's regulations and laws that you have to follow to actually become a franchise. But we're not going to get into any of that at all. As I am not a lawyer, nor am I giving out any legal advice, this is simply my sleep deprived analysis. As a franchisor, you are selling the rights and license to other locations. In other words, franchisees to run a business based on your business model, your established business. Keep up with me. I'm getting to the point. Just to give you an example of a franchise, a franchisor, and a franchisee, McDonald's. Everybody knows what McDonald's is, right? Well, you can own a McDonald's franchise, right? But just because you own a McDonald's franchise doesn't make you the owner of McDonald's, the corporation. You would run that based off the franchisor's business model. In this case, it would be McDonald's, right? They're going to let you get and purchase a McDonald's franchise. You are going to be the franchisee. You are going to operate based on their regulations, their rules. You get what I'm saying? And you're probably thinking, what exactly does that have to do with beauty supply stores? I'm getting to that. I want to just give you some information on a real life situation that happened. In an interview with Diana Foster, who is the owner of Kova Beauty, which is the largest Black-owned beauty supply store in Stockbridge, Georgia. In this interview, she talked about how when she opened up their beauty supply store, they had less than 10 vendors. She also proceeded to state, when they launched, large vendors would not allow them to open an account with them, which led to her building relations with smaller vendors. I want to note that what she is saying and what she is explaining her experience, there are a lot of other Black-owned beauty supply stores that are also experiencing these same things. They're experiencing these same issues, making it more of an obstacle to run their business and initially open their business. Going back to what initially made me aware again of this ongoing problem in 2026 was the video that I saw online. Again, in this video, they were talking about a situation where Asian beauty supply stores were preventing a upcoming Black-owned business from working with a distributor, would not allow distributors to work with her. Okay? So if a vendor denies a business from opening an account with them, like Diana Foster did, you have the ability to seek out smaller vendors. And this is where I'm going to really break down what I believe to be allegedly going on and contributing to Black-owned beauty supply stores ultimately failing. In other words, closing or not being able to even open. If a Black-owned business is being denied access to bigger vendors, in most cases with better pricing, they will have to A, find smaller vendors, or B, find a distributor. In both cases, pricing is going to be more expensive. The quality may be less, and the quantity also may be less. Now are you starting to see the disadvantage? Keep in mind, I know absolutely nothing about beauty supply stores, or the beauty industry, of course. This is all my own research and interpretation of what is allegedly going on. So please add anything I may or may not have missed, or anything that even sounds remotely wrong. As I explained earlier, vendors manufacture the product. Do they always? No, they don't. From a business standpoint, I do 100% understand why you would want to work directly with the vendor. Because who needs a middleman like the distributor? There's probably numerous of reasons why businesses would need to or would want to work with distributors. Could I tell you what those reasons are? Absolutely not. I have no idea. It took me entirely too long to even come to this conclusion. What I will say though is working with the distributor is not an ideal situation. They could be the best distributor out there, making the vendor lots and lots of money, making you lots and lots of money, making themselves lots and lots. Everybody just has a lot of money, right? At any point, a vendor can decide to terminate business with that distributor. And if they terminate business with that distributor and your business runs highly off of them, that's going to affect you. One, you will probably have to find a new distributor. Two, the prices are probably not going to be the same, causing you to A, up your prices and potentially lose out on profits from people who don't want to pay those prices, because we all know you up something $1, oh, forget about it. Everyone's going to be mad. B, keep your prices the same and lose out on the profit that you were making prior to that change. Or C, not sell those products that you were getting from the vendor, not sell those products, those specific products at all, and completely lose out on any profit you may have or may have not received. In this scenario, you are losing in any of those situations. And this is where I want to dive a little deeper, get a little more intentional about what exactly it is and where the point of what I'm saying is going. Just as vendors can deny a business from opening an account with them, well, a distributor also has a choice, right? They have that choice to do business with you or not do business with you. In this alleged situation where Asian beauty supply stores are preventing a Black-owned business from working with said distributor, that distributor again has the choice to do business with you or not. They can A, choose not to do business with the Black-owned beauty supply store, continue to do business with the Asian beauty supply stores, ensuring the sales that they were making prior to this situation. Two, they can choose to work with the Black-owned beauty supply stores, upping the price for losing out on sales that they were making when they were working with those Asian beauty supply stores, even potentially be terminated by the vendor for not making the same sales that they were making prior to doing business with the Black-owned beauty supply store. As you can see, in any situation, the Black-owned business is losing. You're losing if you don't have the ability to do business with them. So now you have to go other routes, go other avenues, right, to get your product. Or they decide to do business with you, up the prices. So now you're paying more and you're having to sell products for more, which is also going to cause customers to not want to buy from you and continue to buy from the other Asian beauty supply stores. Going at that rate ultimately is going to lead you to potentially have to close your business or being very close to barely making it. How are you going to be able to continuously operate on barely getting by? Or maybe, again, maybe they do choose to continue to do business with you. Whether they keep the prices the same or they change the prices, if that vendor sees sales not being the same due to them not doing business with that Asian beauty supply store and they terminate your distributor, guess what? You're at square one and now you have to find a new distributor. And you see how this process is just going on a loop, 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 on a loop. It's never ending. Lastly, the reason why I brought up franchisor and franchisee in exclusive territory, for some reason, all of this felt very similar. All of this felt very connected, and I could not figure out why. Why does this sound familiar, but it isn't? Why does this seem the same, but it's not the same? Till I stumbled upon something called accidental franchise. Which in simple terms, again, this is my interpretation and also a very simplified definition. What I interpret this to mean is that essentially a distributor's agreement is very similar to a franchise agreement. A distributor's agreement is very similar to a franchise agreement. An accidental franchise isn't recognized everywhere, but it is recognized in several states. So not only that, but in some states, for the same exact reason, a distributor's agreement being very similar in resemblance to a franchise agreement, they are actually seen as a franchise, not a accidental franchise. A franchise, in very simple terms, would give them some sort of protections against certain things. What I'm explaining is that in certain situations and circumstances, in certain places, vendors or distributors would be falling under the accidental franchise and be considered franchisees and protected by certain laws and regulations from things happening to them. If a distributor decided to do what was morally right, even if they had to up the prices or keep it the same, there are certain laws and regulations in certain places and certain circumstances that would protect them from retaliation. Businesses or vendors from doing certain things, right? Same for the vendors. There are laws and regulations in certain situations and circumstances in certain places that would protect vendors if they were to decide to do what was morally right, right? I've also heard that the distributor laws aren't the greatest in the United States compared to other places. I don't know how true that is or if it isn't or isn't. Just wanted to throw that out there. What the point of me saying all of this is, while a lot of people are taking advantage, and in certain situations, the distributor has to make a choice and the vendors have to make a choice. There's situations, again, where they could decide 100% to do what is morally right. Out of a chain of not very long of people, nobody is deciding to do what is morally right. I really just wanted to break down in better detail to what is allegedly going on and how it is potentially happening, and just the extent and the level that things have to go through for injustices like this to actually happen, how deep it really is. Just to be clear, I am not a lawyer. I am not giving out legal advice. I am not advising anyone of anything. I'm not accusing any one individual, company, corporation, franchise, entity, person, etc. of anything. I'm simply just giving my interpretation of what I believe to be going on about the beauty supply industry. My final thoughts: the only way that it seems clear to prevent these issues and disrupt what is going on is very clear. Just as the Black community has stated and been saying and preaching and screaming for a while, there needs to not only be more Black beauty supply stores, but there needs to be more Black owned vendors, more Black owned distributors. And most importantly, there needs to be more support. Understand why, if you go into a Black owned business, especially a Black owned beauty supply store, prices may be higher than your local Asian beauty supply store. And understand the depths and the extent on what exactly a Black owned business has to go through to even get certain products, let alone sell them and stay afloat. And the extent that they have to go through to actually navigate to be able to be at the table that clearly they're not welcome to be at. And if they won't give us a seat at the table, we have to make our own. Thank you again for tuning into Dreams World. If you haven't already hit that subscribe or follow button, please go ahead and do that for me. Like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Also, just let me know how you feel about this subject, and I encourage you to share your businesses, where they're at, beauty supply stores, vendors, distributors. The only way to actually change what's going on is to build a community, to give people more information, and to thrive. See you on the next one.